Hey, 420 MSP back with our regular analyst, Wayne Roebuck. Hey, ho ho, how you doing?
Doing great, Harry. How about yourself?
Good. Hey, this month I want to do a little storytelling and also get your opinions. But yesterday, for a client in the data center area, I wrote up their diversity and inclusion statement. So this is a minority-owned, veteran-owned business that serves the data center environment. And it got me thinking, because then I was kind of poking around, and like Microsoft has a lot of communications on diversity and inclusion. It seems to be a conversation right now. In the case of the data center client, they were saying that the $2 trillion infrastructure bill that's going to be coming down has provisions for diversity and inclusion. So my client fits the box, right? If that makes sense.
Mhm.
And so then, as I was preparing to talk to you, maybe the corollary of that, not completely, but we have the social equity aspects of the dispatch of licenses in the cannabis sector. So first of all, what is social equity? Help me out.
So, social equity is pretty much inclusion of minorities, especially those that have been disenfranchised due to the war on drugs and various laws that have been set up. So, to give a little bit of background to the listeners, I pulled up some stats, and according to the ACLU, 8.2 million people were arrested for marijuana from 2001 to 2010. Of course, our country was at a different place then than it is now.
Yeah.
Of those millions of arrests, 88% were arrested simply for possessing. So not selling, not trafficking, but the vast majority just having it. And when you look at it, statistics show that Caucasians as well as African Americans pretty much use or consume cannabis at the same rate.
Sure.
But where social equity comes in is that minorities are 4 times more likely to be arrested for marijuana possession than their Caucasian counterparts. So what ends up happening is, you have that on your record. It makes things substantially harder to to get what we would call a regular job, let alone to get the capital to invest in opening a dispensary or getting into the cannabis industry. And so social equity is merely meant because now that cannabis is at least legal by a vast majority of states, it's now that it's making money, it's a way of reaching back and helping those who have been hurt by the policies to be able to get into this industry and hopefully thrive within it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I support that. I've talked to you in the past about this, that in this probably over a year ago, it's moving so quick, Dwayne, but a year ago, and certainly 2 years ago, when I went to a conference called Rad Expo in Portland, Oregon, and went to a panel, um, I didn't like the idea of one bill or one initiative serving two masters, as they say. That on the one hand, you wanted the legalization. Great. On the other hand, you wanted social equity. And I was just a little concerned that it was going to slow down the passage of those bills. But I've revised my forecast that they've been able to combine the two topics in one initiative. I believe New York State was an example of that, and New Jersey. So, hey, before we go, so again, what got me thinking about this, Washington State bolsters marijuana social equity program up on MJ Biz. Governor Inslee signed a bill that expanded the social equity program enacted in 2020, blah, blah, blah. But what's interesting is under the original bill, and again, that's been expanded, but under the original bill, regulators were able to prioritize unassigned retail licenses, such as the ones that were forfeited or revoked, to social equity applicants. That good, but it also tells me something different. And I know I've talked with you either on camera or offline on this. there's a lot of license holders, and I know this in the state of Washington, who actually haven't opened a facility, and these licenses are sitting dormant. And so maybe that's kind of what they're talking about. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, you're hearing social equity terms thrown around a lot more. Um, Illinois was probably the one that threw it out most prominently.
Yep.
And what's happening is, while the conversations are being discussed, very little is actually happening in terms of actually distributing the licenses for whatever reason. So you figure Illinois, they were supposed to have 75 licenses that were distributed a year ago. Here we are a year later. They've managed to achieve over $1 billion in revenue, and none of those licenses have still been distributed. And when the media reached out to the governor's office, they reported that it was due to the pandemic, when the reality of it is other government business is still transpiring. The challenge with Washington is you have an already mature and existing business. And so how does social equity play into that? And, what's going to happen with the entrenched operators?
Yeah.
So, one of the things, and I'll tie it all up, but one of the things that I've been doing is I've actually, just as a form of giving back, I've been working with some social equity companies, as well as community colleges. One is Community College Olive Harvey in the south side of Chicago. So, to give you an example of how this can be impactful, I was sitting in one of the board meetings, and they had a lady who, for everything that they said, she didn't have any other source of income previously. She went through their cannabis program, and she was able to get hired on at one of the larger MSOs. And she now has a position making over $50,000 a year. So when you look at the cannabis industry being a viable, it's one of the fastest growing in terms of job creation. Opening that up, so that it's more inclusive, is only going to help the country as a whole. And I encourage my resellers to look at groups like that. There are social equity people who are very much behind social equity. One name that comes to mind is Dr. Mila Marshall out of Chicago. She has her own podcast, and so they're really community driven, and they're helping these applicants. And it's a good way for a MSP or a reseller to get in there and help these guys, and really get in at the ground floor. So
yeah, it's true.
It's opportunity for everyone, and I'm glad that we were able to have this discussion.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. No one better in the industry. Hey, a shout out to Blue Star Distributing. What's the URL? We haven't given you enough shout outs lately, my friend. Where can we get more?
They can reach me. Anyone can email me, drobuck, ROEBUCK, at Blue Star Inc. That's bluestarinc.com. And our website is also Bluestar, BLUESTARINC.com.
All right. Talk to you next month. Thanks.
Hey, thanks, Harry.
All right.